Hey guys, it's your boy Chris. Welcome to my kitchen once again. We're doing nice things as usual. A couple days ago I asked on Facebook how many of you would be interested in seeing the way I do my macaroni pie. Macaroni pie is one of those things throughout the islands. It's a hearty, sort of cheesy macaroni. It's all kind of lovely things goes in there. Just came out of the oven. I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek. I'm letting it cool down a little bit. So here we go, we're making a macaroni pie. Ooh, lovely stuff. If it's your first time here watching me on YouTube, above, click subscribe. Below is where you're going to leave me your comments, questions, anything you want to chat about. And do remember to give the video the thumbs up. Guys, this recipe can also be found, if you want a printable version, like a step-by-step version, in text, check out CaribbeanPot.com and search macaroni pie. So here we go, a lovely, we've got to throw in a wicked as well, a wicked macaroni pie. Let's quickly run through the ingredients we'll be using here today. Back here in this bowl, I've got 1.5 cups of evaporated milk. I've got here some dry mustard, half a teaspoon of dry mustard. Scotch bonnet pepper, you know we gotta give it that little kick, that little vibe, that little Caribbean something. So half of this, no seeds, because we want the vibe, we want that flavor, but not so much of the heat. A couple eggs, 2 tablespoons of butter, a 1/3 teaspoon of salt, and here I've got a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg and a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, a medium-sized onion. And this here is the star of this one here, guys. This is an old cheddar that I've grated up. I've got about 2.5 cups of that grated cheddar here. You can play around with any sort of cheese you like. I love the nuttiness, the flavor, and everything else from this old cheddar. And you can't make macaroni pie without macaroni. I've got here these big fat noodles here. Catelli brand. Hey guys, Catelli, hook your brother up with some sponsorship. I'm giving you guys free promo. I'm gonna use this is about 2 pounds over here. I'm gonna use anywhere from 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of this. But first we've got to cook this. We've got to pre-boil this a bit. So there we go. These are the ingredients we'll be using. If I forgot anything during this little part here, I will update you as we go along. Another thing is, if you want to put some herbs in here, like some fresh thyme, some scallions, some chives, anything you want to put in here, it goes well. And if you want to top it off with some breadcrumbs, you can certainly do that as well. I'm going old school. I'm going with these ingredients. With the Scotch bonnet pepper, I'm just going to cut it open to show you guys something. When dealing with Scotch bonnet peppers or any sort of really spicy hot peppers, what you want to do is, notice this area here surrounding the seeds. If you're concerned about the heat, what you got to do is cut that part out and toss it out. That's where most of that heat is within the Scotch bonnet pepper, the seeds and the sort of white membrane. So all I'm going to do is trim that part out and discard it. Make sure you get all of the seeds out of it so there's no seeds whatsoever, and that is good to go. What I'm going to do is give that a very fine chop, because you want little pieces all over this macaroni pie. I'm going to go ahead and dice that up. And typically, if you're handling these Scotch bonnet peppers, I mean, let's say I am a veteran at this. I've got a PhD in handling these peppers, so they really don't affect me that much. But typically what you want to do is to wear gloves, and as soon as you're done handling them, wash your hands a couple times with soap. It's very important to do that. You touch the wrong spot after cutting and handling these peppers, you're asking for it. So all I'm going to do is keep mincing this thing up. I want it nice and fine minced. And the other thing is, what we want to do is, we don't want big chunks of onion in this macaroni pie. So I've got my little grater here. I've got my onion. So all I'm going to do is grate that onion, and then we're going to put everything together with the cheese and the milk, the mustard, all kind of goodness going in this here. The water has come up to a boil now, so all you're doing is pretty much cooking this pasta as you would cook any sort of pasta. So you salt your water, it's up to a sort of a boil here, and this is the noodles I'll be using. Notice how nice and fat and thick they are. If you can't get these, and I mean, you can always look in any sort of Caribbean grocery store and you can find them there. If you can't use that, you can use any sort of macaroni, any sort of rotini, any sort of pasta you like, nice and thick. elbow noodles. You can certainly use any one of those combination there. I'm just gonna boil this, cook this according to the instructions on the package, and then we're gonna drain it and assemble everything. As the macaroni cooks, let's put together the sort of base for this. I'm just gonna crack in those 2 eggs. With a whisk, I'm just going to give it a quick whisk. In goes that fresh ground black pepper. Give it a nice dose of that ground black pepper. Nothing beats the flavor you get from nice freshly ground black pepper. In goes the mustard powder. The bit of salt. The chopped up Scotch bonnet pepper and the grated onion. Just gonna give that a quick whisk just to make sure everything's incorporated nicely in here. Then in goes the evaporated milk. Again, give that a good mix. And I'm going to add the nutmeg in here while I'm at it. Again, give that a good whisk. You want all those flavors to really blend and marry in the bowl here. And finally, the cheese. We're just going to sprinkle all that cheese in there. I'm going to leave a little bit to top, maybe about 1/4 cup to top the pie, the macaroni pie, before we put it into the oven. Give that a nice quick stir. Again, we want to mix everything together. Now the idea here is not to melt the cheese, because the cheese won't melt. The milk is room temperature, so it won't melt the cheese. However, we sure do have to incorporate everything. As you can tell, the macaroni is fully cooked now. I drained it. It's nice and dry. I'm preheating my oven at 350, so 350 degrees. And what we're going to do now here is pretty much assemble everything. So the macaroni is fully cooked. I'm just going to add in the sort of cheese mixture that we made. And we got to give that a quick stir as we do so, because we really want to incorporate everything. I'm just going to switch over to a spoon, and you really want to give this a good mix. I'm going to continue mixing this up. In the meantime, I'm also going to to butter or grease a baking dish that we're going to bake this in. We also need to add the butter to the mixture as well, and as you can tell, I've been mixing it quite diligently. Give that a quick stir because we want everything to have a nice harmonious mix here. It's looking good, my friends. It's really looking good. So all I'm going to do now is get that greased baking dish ready. Everything is in the baking dish now. I greased that baking dish as I mentioned. I topped it with that remaining cheese, and you know, I had to cheat a little bit. I added a little bit more cheese because there's nothing better than a nice cheesy macaroni pie. If you guys want, you can put some breadcrumbs on here now. Last step, that paprika. We're just going to sprinkle it all over here. I mean, I said it won't add much flavor, but it will surely make it look a little bit more pretty when it comes out of the oven. Stick it in the oven now. I'm going to add a little bit more paprika actually. Stick it in the oven, 350 degrees on the middle rack in the oven. It's been about 40 minutes since I put it into the oven. I'm just going to take it up now. Now you can certainly allow it to get a bit more golden on the top if that's your thing. Let's give you guys a little closer peek at it here. So 40 minutes in the oven, middle rack, and it's good to go here. If you want to crisp it up a little bit more, because nothing is better than that nice crispy, sort of burnt edges with that cheese and everything else. 40 minutes, you're good to go, but do keep an eye on it, depending on the heat. I'm not sure how to say that, but Ovens tend to vary, so with my oven it took 40 minutes. It may take 35 minutes in your oven, but do keep an eye on it. You don't want it to burn. Nice and beautiful. I'm just going to let it cool now before I slice into it.